Hey guys, today is June 10, 2019. My name is Luke and welcome to another episode of The Slatanist, a show where I talk about everything that's been happening in the horror world for the past week so you guys can hear it all in one place. This is the second episode of the show, and if you are new here, hey, welcome. And we hope that you enjoy the show and that you will stick around. The Slateness is part of darkslatemedia.com, a website where we publish articles, reviews, discussions, and the likes on a regular basis. So be sure to check out the site as well as follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all that using the handle at darkslatemedia. Last week, I told you guys that we haven't had a schedule yet for this show as it was in its bare infant stages. Today, however, I'm happy to announce that The Slateness will now be a weekly show dropping new episodes every Sunday or Monday depending on where you're from. Your best bet as to not miss out on new episodes is to subscribe to our weekly newsletter, which you can find on our website. Just drop your name and email in and we'll send you a weekly update on everything that we put out. The show will also be uploaded onto YouTube, so if you want to watch instead of listen, you can now do that as well. And to all those watching, leave your comments down below if you guys like this sort of content, and because it'd be great to know I haven't done this before. It's the first time uploading a full-on audio into a video, so I might not be looking directly at the camera, so let me know. All right, with that, let's roll the bumper. Last Monday, we released an article called The Top 10 Creative Kills in the Late 2010s. If you haven't checked it out, basically what that is, it's a collection of some of the best kills from horror movies from 2015 up until now. At the very top of that list is Charlie's decapitation from 2018's Hereditary. I've also posted that article onto the horror subreddit and got a few interesting comments, so just like last week, we're going to talk about that today. So let me open up the Reddit on my laptop here. All right, there we go. Okay, cool. So the first one is from a user called Shutaf4Avocados, which I think is a pretty interesting name. And this user says, Charlie's decapitation in Hereditary freaked me out. I was unnerved, but what about that episode from the first season of Ash vs. Evil Dead when Kelly put a deadite's head through a deli slicer? That's one of my favorite kills of all time. Okay, I don't know what a deadite is because I don't watch the show. I'm guessing it's a character. Let me look it up real quick, right? Just to have some context here. Deadite. Deadite, yeah, it's a life force, person, animal, or plant possessed by a Canadian demon. Yeah, it's a zombie, I think. So okay, cool. First of all, I guess I wasn't being specific enough in my title because it just says top 10 creative kills, and my list basically covers movies and not shows or series. So yeah, that's entirely on me. I get that, but coming up with the list itself was such a massive pain as I wanted to include so many kills on here, but I simply couldn't because they wouldn't make the list because number one, they either weren't released from the late 2010s or number two, they weren't from movies. So they were from other sources, and I wanted to make it as easy as possible so it's less time consuming because this already took a lot of time to sift through the entire catalog of a lot of the horror movies that I watch, and it was such a pain in the ass, but it was so worth it. Completely worth it. I hope that you guys enjoyed the article. All right, moving on. There's two users on here citing a movie called Bone Tomahawk. I haven't seen the film, and I'm going to look it up. So, Bone Tomahawk. I'm guessing it's horror because there's bone in it. Oh, it's not. It's a Western drama slash adventure movie. And again, I think this is my fault as well because I didn't put horror in the title. So I'll take half of the blame here, but the other half is completely on them because I posted this onto the horror subreddit, horror being the emphasis here, because why would I talk about a Western movie on a horror thread? That would make no sense. So I don't know. Oh well, moving on. Another user, I can't even try to pronounce that. Let me just try. This user is called Hoity Toity Tippy Typer. Where do they come up with these names? And this user says, Hold. Just like to say that I heavily disagree with you about The Strangers Prey at Night. Movie is a ton of fun, totally lived up to the original for me. I mean, lots of people put The Strangers as their number one movie of the decade. I love it, and the tone of the sequel is different, but I think that's for sure on purpose to reflect the decade. I thought all performances were great. Okay, firstly, I am extremely glad that you enjoyed watching The Strangers Prey at Night, right? That's what movies are about. It's supposed to make you have a good time, and I'm glad that you enjoyed and had a good time watching the movie. However, I completely hated the movie and thought it was trash. And the movie holds a 39% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I know most of you would disagree when someone brings up the ratings when talking about a film, but I think ratings matter because it tells you collectively whether a movie is good or not, right? And a site like Rotten Tomatoes doesn't have in-house critics, but rather they have a collection of movie reviewers that share their thoughts of a certain film, which will help you decide whether or not a film is worth your time, your energy, and your money, because these things are time consuming and you don't want to be wasting your time watching a movie that a lot of people say is trash. That being said, though, there are one or two cases where those reviews are completely wrong, but that's not all of the time. Majority of the times they are usually right. So that is. So personally, I didn't like The Strangers Prey at Night, and most people would agree with me, but I do have to respect this user for having a different opinion, because as I said earlier, that's what films are about. Not everyone is going to like everything, and not everyone is not going to like everything. That's just the way it is. Okay, I think, yeah, we'll just do 3 this time. I think those were some of the best comments that we got about our top 10 most creative kills in the late 2010s article. Once again, if you haven't checked out the article, please feel free to do so by visiting our website, which is www.darkslatemedia.com. In news this week, arguably the biggest one we have is we finally have the first trailer to Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This film, while it's not completely directed by Del Toro, which I think was the first plan, but instead he's now the guy that wrote the story, and I would imagine he also had a lot to do with the overall production of the film. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is in fact directed by Andre Overdahl. I really hope that I'm saying his name right and not completely butchering it, because that's like the slash in the O. But yeah, Andre. He is best known for making the critically acclaimed and downright terrifying film called The Autopsy of Jane Doe. And if you haven't seen this movie before, I highly recommend checking it out. It's one of the better horror films to have come out in the past few years. Personally, I think it's in my top 10 horror movies of all time. It's really good. It's really well done. And according to Del Toro, the movie will be a greatest hits featuring the best stories taken from the hit children's book of the same name, written by Alvin Schwartz. The film aims for a PG rating, as both Andre and Del Toro want the film to be a family-friendly. They want the film to be a family-friendly horror as opposed to a dark and gruesome one. Personally, I think this is a great choice by them, because I think the horror genre deserves to have a few films that you can go in as an entire family and just enjoy and be scared, and the film can still be like a fun experience for everyone. Most movies nowadays, they aim for the R rating, and a lot of the times they don't even have to be. It's like as if the R rating is something like the cool kids have nowadays, and so because of that, every other movie just wants to copy it. I think The Conjuring started this. They had the R rating for being scary. That there's no gore, no sex, no nudity. It was scary, so that's why they got the R rating. And now everyone just wants to hop on the bandwagon. Yeah, that's Hollywood for you. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark hits theaters this August, and I hope that you guys will definitely support this movie because it looks great. For one, the trailers, the whole imagery and the vibe of the movie just looks like a fun movie to watch, so I highly recommend checking it out when it comes out in August. In other news, Poltergeist, Gremlins, and Ghostbusters all celebrated their anniversaries this past week. Poltergeist turned 37, while both Gremlins and Ghostbusters, as they were both released on the same day, turned 35. We rewatched Poltergeist and Gremlins last week, and it surprisingly holds up really well. One thing that we did notice is how much of an influence Poltergeist has to a lot of the films released today. James Wan's Insidious definitely borrowed a lot of elements from this film, and honestly, we are not even like trying to complain here, because if you want a copy from a filmmaker, it might as well be Steven Spielberg, because he has really impacted the whole industry with a lot of good movies. So if you want to copy anyone, you might as well copy Spielberg. Also, quick fun fact, Gremlins, which is essentially as much as a Christmas movie as Die Hard is, was actually written by a guy named Chris Columbus. And if you think that name sounds like familiar, like you heard of it, it's because this is the same guy that would later go on to direct the Christmas classic, Home Alone. It's like the best Christmas movie ever, right? And I guess Chris had a thing for the whole Christmas spirit, because Gremlins was also like, in a sense, a Christmas movie, and Home Alone, it's nice. It's just nice to know that he made some good movies. As far as birthdays are concerned, Johnny Depp turned 56 yesterday. The actor, who at this point is only known for playing Captain Jack Sparrow for like the longest time, and he should definitely stop and do other things, man, because like that's the only thing I can like remember him now. Like, it's becoming a thing. Like, stop, man. He's good. And he has given us a lot of iconic performances for horror, most notably for his work with director Tim Burton. They worked on a lot of movies, man, like a lot of movies. Johnny Depp made his feature debut with a small little film released in 1984 called A Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm just kidding. It's not a small movie. It's a huge movie. It became like one of the most iconic things in horror. Now the whole franchise has grown to be one of the biggest franchises in the world. So to like see him start from a movie like that to becoming like this huge Hollywood actor now is kind of satisfying to see. It's not satisfying, it's like inspiring to see someone start so small, so young, and grow within the Hollywood movie industry and become like a icon now. Basically, he's like one of the top movie stars in Hollywood working today. And yeah, that's really cool. So happy birthday to you, Mr. Johnny Depp. Hope you had a great one. All right, so on Twitter, if you don't follow me on Twitter, I'm at Dark Slate Media, as mentioned earlier. What happened is something really funny. Not funny, it's actually pretty sad. I got locked out of my Twitter account on, I think it was Wednesday. I'm not so sure which day it was. And I don't know why. I tried to log into my account, and it says you've been locked out, and the only way that I can log back in is by having Twitter send me a text message. But the number on this account is my old phone number, which I don't even use anymore. So I actually messaged Twitter and like told them, hey, what's up, man? Like, I need to log in back to my account. And they didn't get back to me for like a few days until on Saturday. They got back to me and they sent me an email saying sorry because we thought that your account was a spam account. And yeah, basically I couldn't use Twitter for a few days, and it was pretty annoying. So they got back and the account is up and running again, and it's all good. And while I was on there, I saw a bunch of people talking about a movie called Boar, which I think just came out on Netflix, but the movie in fact was released in 2017. And basically what this movie is about, it's about a pig, an oversized pig, going around and killing people. If that sounds stupid, it's because it is. It's kind of like those creature features, right? It's kind of like Sharknado and Anaconda, like that kind of movies. But instead of snakes and sharks, this time we have a wild boar that's huge. So basically, when I watched this movie, right, the first thing that came to my mind was Pumbaa. You know Pumbaa from Timon and Pumbaa? So I tweeted something that said that this movie is essentially what would happen if Pumbaa had anger issues. And then I quoted, like, you know, the Fast and the Furious where The Rock goes, he said, what does he say? He says Dominic Toretto just went rogue. So I tweeted that saying that this movie is essentially what happens if Pumbaa has anger issues, and then down there I put, in Luke Hobbs' voice, Pumbaa just went rogue. And I think it was kind of cool, but nobody saw it, so I'm telling you this just so that you would go and like and just like retweet that, just to make my humor acknowledged, because nobody's like checking it out. It's so sad, man. It's really sad. Anyways, I just wanted to end on a good note. So that brings us to our end of today's episode. I hope you guys had a great time. And to all those watching on YouTube, if you guys enjoyed this kind of format of content, it's very laid back. There's not much editing involved. It's much easier to be like pumping out this kind of content. If you guys want to see more of this, just let me know down in the comments below, or like reach out to me on any of our social medias at Slate Media. And those listening, yeah, you guys can hop into, like, tell me, do you guys like this new format that I'm trying to apply? It's not new since it's like the second episode. I just tried to make it like I start this whole series by going through comments on our Reddit pages, and then later on going on to news and stuff like that. So if you guys enjoyed this kind of format, do let me know. I'm open to suggestions as well. So if you guys think that I could like add new stuff to this show, do let me know. I would highly appreciate that. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for watching. And I hope to see you guys next week. And for those watching on YouTube, we have a show that comes out every Friday. That's our weekly YouTube show. And we talk about like slasher movies, movie reviews, that kind of stuff. And this podcast is like a longer form content of just like fast flash news, basically. Yeah, I hope to see you guys again soon. And always remember, guys, that you are never alone when watching a horror movie. Goodbye.